Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 70 of the Xbox 4 Gamers podcast. This week, as always, I'm joined by our wonderful producer, Charlotte.
Hi.
And our basically fucking recurring guest slash host here, Mr. Dio himself. How you doing, mate?
I'm the adoptive son nobody asked for.
Yes, exactly. Well, we needed somebody, and you were like, yeah, I guess.
It pays that you're like, got a girlfriend.
Living with all the hosts, yes.
Yeah.
Just contractually obligated to show up when asked.
Yeah.
Which is nice. This week, we got a few things on. It's not super crazy, but we'll probably be talking a little bit about cheat codes, getting easy achievements. There's been some juicy details in the Microsoft, Activision, Sony trifecta. And we've got a couple of interesting questions around kind of, where our life has gone with achievements and what we would do if we'd lost them. But as always, we do the show live on Twitch. You can come hang out with us in the chat. With people like Angel and our previous guest, Mr. Just Jake, hanging out there. Xbox Hall of Gamers is the place to find us. So yeah, come say hi, hang out, check us a subscription, follow us. We appreciate all of our audience. You can come shit post and ask questions, all those kinds of fun things. But first, Charlotte is going to transition us to a song of the week. Take it away.
Cool. We're ready.
Snowy morning, dragons calling. Steal the mask, find your zen. Only surround us in numbers unimaginable. I shoot and slice my way through all of them. But things just start out crazy, taking lives of every fool. And I would gladly save the world if I only knew that someday people thought that I was cool. That someday people thought that I was cool. 'Cause they will all go bleed, wall running and grapple hooking. Come and pick a fight with me. Shoot into the bloody morning, and that dragon's head I'll cleave.
Cool. And that was Song of the Week for this week.
Hopefully a nice easy one. Dio, do you know what it is?
No, I know the band and the year it came out because Charlotte gave me hints. I was 5 when the song came out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, okay, so that's fair.
I was still listening to Noddy and whatever other Portuguese show was going on at the time.
Noddy, like with big ears?
It was like a toy taxi driver.
Yeah,
it was
right.
really
Yeah,
creepy now that I think
we
about
had it here too. Noddy, he was an elf.
Yeah, little elf, yeah.
Was he an elf?
Yeah.
I don't know, they were little. It was kind of weird. It was looking back, it was like, yeah, one of the characters was called Big Ears, I think.
Yeah, it's Enid Blyton.
Ah, of course.
Yeah.
And he had a weird furry relationship with one of the bears.
Look, there's a lot of stuff when you go back and look at it in like kids shows. You're like, man, this is kind of
weird.
Yeah.
But yes. Okay, Charlotte, do you know what the song is?
Yeah, 100%. Easy.
Yep. All right. Anyone in the chat? Any
Super
guesses?
easy.
No. Okay. Yep. Charlotte, what was it?
It was Maroon 5, Sunday Morning.
Yes, it is. Based on one of the games I played this week, which is Shadow Warrior 3, which I'll talk a little bit about later in the show. All right. Well, normally we do an interview, but obviously you guys all know Dio at this point.
Most you do,
Yeah.
Well, they don't know Dio; they know Valak usually.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
was that Dio?
Let's get into our community questions because we've got a couple of them this week and they're quite good.
We do. Yes.
So our first one's from a good friend, Mr. Logic Dad Isaac. He says, "Hey guys, what's the funniest thing that's happened in a game for you recently? Not necessarily something that was intended to be funny, but something that made you laugh while playing. Thanks for the show. You're very welcome, Isaac. Any thoughts?
I mean, I gotta say, and I made this very known when it was happening when I was doing Crossfire X, and I figured out that the most OP weapon was the knife
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
nobody knew what to do, and I was just running at people and getting like
Yeah.
50 kills and 1 death in matches. Headshots as well,
Yeah.
because people just kept shooting me, and the game was so well balanced that they couldn't kill me in time before they were dead.
Yeah, that game was a fucking mess. At least it was easy.
They were trying to capitalize on the popular PC Asian one, and the fan base from Counter-Strike, and it failed massively. And apparently Counter-Strike 2 has been kind of leaked.
Oh, that's right.
By
Yeah,
the way.
apparently a lot of games are being like up-res to like a Source Engine 2. A lot of like classic games, which is kind of cool. I'm trying to think of like funny things in video games, like unintentional ones.
I can't really think of any, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, like the thing is, like comedy is such a weird thing in terms of like games doing comedy is a tough one. Like I've been went back and started playing High on Life again because they patched the last achievement that I couldn't get. And like that is a funny game, but most of it is like trying to be intentionally funny. Unintentionally funny. It's like,
poopy humor.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, it's, you gotta have a very high IQ to enjoy Rick and Morty style humor, apparently.
Oh, okay. No, I have one.
Pickle Rick.
So, the thing that the funniest thing that happened was when me and Dare, actually, it happened a little bit with me and Matt when we played it, but it happened a lot when me and Dare played it. Fogs.
I was just gonna say Fogs.
Yeah, I was thinking
is a hilarious fucking game.
Massive physics.
The scissors.
Yes, but then the physics jumps, the glitch where like the fucking dogs would go flying off into space and then just massively spin and like extend themselves and be like, what the fuck just happened? I have so many videos of that happening.
I remember talking with Audrey and when we were on one of their shows, and they were talking about, they're like, yeah, bring us a Game Pass game to talk about, and we brought Fogs as the example. They were like, what the fuck is this?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, physics dogs, Fogs.
I loved it. It was great. I loved Fogs.
It was a great game. It was a really, really fun game.
So stupid.
It was real fucking stupid. Yeah, like that's the only one I can kind of think about. Yeah, that's like kind of like physics funny, like kind of just messing around stuff. Because the thing is, like, most time when games are broken, they aren't really that funny. It's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I mean, I did just post a picture in our silly chat of the great glitch that I just encountered on Young Souls, where one of the enemies just got fucking glitched into the fence.
Yep.
And soft locked me. I can get out of it because I could choose the map and like fast travel out, but still dumb.
The only other one I can maybe think of is recently was Hard Space Shipbreaker, because that game is all about like cutting into ships, disassembling stuff, and there's all kinds of hazards. Like there was a bunch of times where I was like, okay, careful, and I'm cutting around this thing, and suddenly I just leave the blowtorch on a little bit too long, hit a fuel pipe, explode the whole fucking thing, and just get flung out into space. And it's frustrating as fuck, but it is pretty funny. And like that game kind of like is like, it also has like an intentional humor to it, because it's kind of like, corporate, like hail corporate kind of sort of, that's probably the closest thing I can think of, because I don't tend to play stuff that's kind of like physicsy, kind of like jokey, that's not intentional. I mean, outside of maybe like Paparazzi was like hilarious.
Yeah, maybe the stuff that happened in Human Fall Flat when we try to grab each other's asses and Mike keeps trying.
Human Fall Flat,
but I don't know if that's unintentionally. That's us trying to make the game funnier. Yeah, like the last level where Mike was like, "Oh, you guys, I'm just gonna skip it. You guys are free to solve the level," and us three decide to try and actually solve the puzzle with the fucking car.
I mean, we got it,
and we did. And you kept saying forward, backwards, and me and Charlie kept fucking it up and running you over.
Mike was very not impressed when I was like, "Oh, cool, I'm the first person across there," and she's halfway across the map towards the end of the level. Yeah. I was going to say No Man's Sky, but that game didn't make me laugh. It more just frustrated the shit.
Made you cry?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm just like,
there was Marvel's Avengers. So me and Admiral both really like playing as Thor, because you could just throw the hammer and the enemy would just get impaled in the things squiggling around, not being able to move.
Yeah.
And so I just kept throwing the hammer, and you could do something similar with Captain America's shield. Right. So I think I was playing with another player, and we both decided to throw the hammer and the shield at the same time. Mm-hmm. And as the dude just fell down, Hulk just landed on top of him. And I was
having a bad day, that guy. Yeah.
And it was like, and one of the NPC just was like, target neutralized. And I'm like, yeah, I think he's neutralized. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's all I can kind of really think about.
Because recently, most of the glitches are just frustrating. It's not even fun glitches.
It just means, fuck, I have to replay this goddamn game or this goddamn level. Speaking of redoing shit, our good friend Firehawk D.
Yeah, Firehawk D.
That's 2 mentions.
Yeah. Shade.
Yeah, if you say it too many times, he shows up, so be careful. He's puts the question to us. Tomorrow, Microsoft announces the sunsetting of the current achievement system, opting to move to a new revamped system. Your old progress will not carry over, but the old system will continue to exist, but no longer be supported. Do you start over on the new system, stay with the old, or just give up?
I mean, there hasn't been any recent suicides in the bridge next to me. I think one more won't make a difference.
Yeah, I can.
See, I probably would start the new one, but I don't know.
I'll become a Steam achievement hunter.
Yeah. So you got the fucking Steam account manager ready to go. Yeah, I don't know, Charlotte. What do you kind of think?
I guess it depends on how many other people would go to the new one, but I would probably want to go on the new one, because then it's like, oh, I actually have a chance of getting into the league, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. Feel like I'm just jumping on just to be the first one, just like be the new stallion or whatever.
Be the new Neomaster.
Yeah,
but now because I'd be right there too.
I know you would. Yeah. I'd be like, I have to hold my title.
It's free to have dreams, you know.
Dreams was cancelled.
Jake puts out in the chat. Don't yell at me, but make it closer to the trophy system, and I'm in. Even though I main load achievements, I think PlayStation does trophies better. Yeah, I can definitely. There are different elements of the trophy system that I think work better, especially like the platinum system.
The platinum, how they separate. I mean, I don't really care because I count DLC usually as a full completion, but how they separate the list in game and how they split the lists for the collections.
Yeah,
because. I want to start Kingdom Hearts, but seeing all those achievements bundled up together in them is a mess.
Yeah, the only thing I don't really like about the PlayStation system is the fact that they have so many fucking stacks of regional stuff,
and the fact that it's in PlayStation.
Yeah, and also well, I've got nothing against PlayStation. They're fine, you know. I could have just as easily ended up over there if I hadn't got into achievements, to be honest. Because I had a PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 1 as my first consoles, so. PlayStation 3 was kind of the logical move, but 360, just grabbed me. Yeah, I don't know. Dear, what about you? Well, I'll give my thoughts last.
I mean, I would probably keep playing both in conjunction because I'm sure TA would release an update on their site where they would just merge the both of them, and because. I'm assuming that none of the old games that already exist in the current Xbox would carry over their achievements, so they'll probably just play both. Play the new one, run the new one, and if I want to play an old game, obviously I'll have to play on the old one.
Yeah,
I'm assuming none of the games that are currently on Xbox would carry over for the new system, because then at that point, you're just creating a new account, nothing is changing.
Yeah, basically starting from scratch. That's a good point.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on how they implement it. Yeah, if it was like that and they were like, yeah, like there's like end of this year is like the cutoff, or today's the cutoff, or whatever it is. It's like anything that comes out after today is on the new system. Everything before that is on the old system. I would be like, well, I'll probably clean up everything I want to do on the old system.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't like start a lot of new stuff. Like I would treat it like I do my 360, where it's like I'm just on like cleanup duty.
And like I said, if it's still the same gamer tag, I'm sure TA or another website would find a way to like merge both, but still keep them separate.
100%, yeah. If it was completely wiped, they were like, oh, actually, we're just starting from zero again. Like we have to revamp the entire achievement system. So everyone's reset to zero. You can re-earn all your achievements again, but they're on this new system with whatever benefit or whatever.
So creating a new account.
Yeah.
Just imagine all the games that are discontinued or unobtainable.
You just hope that no one steals your gamer tag on the new system. Like, imagine that.
Yeah, that would be a fucking pain.
Yeah.
I mean, they can already steal it. You just have all the shitty numbers.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I think that I really wouldn't want. I mean, look, I was in this situation many years ago, right? Like it was, I lost my Neomaster 2005 at the time account for like a year or two, because they had a thing where basically they had a database issue with the live account that was associated with my my Xbox account was deleted. Because I had like a hacker or something, and so there was some, I don't know 100% know, it was years ago, but like the account got removed, and there was no way the only way to verify it was to be like, oh, put in the existing email address and then update it to the new one. I was like, well, the existing one doesn't exist, and I can't get a verification email because the account doesn't exist. They eventually fixed it years later. I got a message from someone on Xbox Achievements, and they were like, hey, I noticed you posted in this thread. I had a similar issue. Apparently it's fixed now. Go give it a try. But yeah, like I earned a bunch of achievements. I made a new profile. Had close to 100% completion percentage because I just was going back and playing old stuff. This was sort of 360 days. So I wasn't in the millions of gamers score, but I still had a relatively high score. And like part of it was like, fuck, this sucks replaying all this stuff. But also it was like I had a perfect account, which was really appealing in a lot of ways. And I got to replay stuff that I was like, I replayed things like Bayonetta and Assassin's Creed 2 and like some of the Splinter Cell games, like games that I really, really enjoyed originally, and kind of got to go through it again and without having to deal with all the bullshit of like stuff being discontinued or you know.
It's funny as you say that because last year or 2 years ago, I was really tempted to create a new account just to have like that perfect account. And I decided not to just because of looking at the games, like so many games that I couldn't complete on this new account. And somehow Phil Spencer was like, I got you, bro. And we fixed GTA 5 or a hacker fixed it against my will. And Far Cry 2 was working again. So the reason I would create a new account currently is in my account. I'm saved for the 100% completion. I just need to get my ass and do the multiplayer games.
Like you can get it now, which is cool.
Yeah, but hypothetically, imagine if Neomaster was still lost and say tomorrow you'd find a way to go back to Neomaster. Would you do it knowing that you'd have to probably play all the shovelware shit that you've been playing on?
I mean, that's the thing is I don't think I would do the shovelware stuff anymore, right? Like I would be like, cause like right now I'm much more choosy around kind of what I play. It's mostly stuff that's leaving Game Pass and then the occasional.
See, that's an interesting thing because I also said that I would never really do that, right? And I do play a lot of Ratalaika now.
Yeah, that's true. But you're also trying to push your score up.
I am, yeah. I'm at the stage where I'm like, I'm close to getting 200k, and I'm like, I want it. I want that 200k.
Yeah, and like as soon as I hit my 2 million, I lost basically all interest in kind of boosting my score. The only times I would do it was for
because you're at the other end of the scale, whereas I'm still at the low end. Yeah.
Yeah, but and I think the thing is that it's not even about at this point. It's not about the account. It's about my personal experience with getting to that. And so even if the account was reset to 0, I would be like, I wouldn't push back up to it. I don't care that much.
Saying you don't want to watch a cat for 17 minutes?
Not particularly. No. And like even like if my account got reset, I don't think I would replay a lot of the stuff that I've done. Like I think I would treat it like a relatively fresh account. Like there might be a few things, but I mean I'm assuming I still have access to all of my backlog and all the things I bought over the years. So
you'd hope so, yeah.
Like there might be a couple of things, but realistically, like I'm pushing forward where I can. Like I'm the new a lot of stuff that I play tends to be Game Pass stuff that's a slightly higher ratio, that I've never played before, and then like the occasional remaster, right? But I haven't been going to my backlog nearly as much as I used to. I kind of see what Jake was saying, right? It's like yeah, like kind of two minds about it. Like I would love to have it a perfect account, but I also I'm over 30. Like I don't have time for that shit anymore. Like, it's just like fuck it. Like I can live with it. I'm not thrilled about it. Like yeah, it still annoys the shit out of me that like there was one Windows Phone achievement that I wasn't able to get because of some fucking bullshit. And that like I'll never have like Homefront finished or fucking Forza 2. Like I know most of the like discontinueds that I can't get. But like I have so many games to play, and like the reason I play video games, like achievements are what push me through games.
Yeah.
But games themselves are why I play games. At least for now. Who knows?
Yeah,
right?
if I didn't have achievements, I probably would not finish games. Because
if I didn't have achievements, I probably would still be playing Jack and Daxter.
Yeah, true.
Because that's the only game that gives me go.
That game's great.
It's a good game.
I mean, I would definitely just play everything on easy and just go for the experience and not like 100% most of the games anymore. I probably would still do a few of them because I used to do that before achievements, like back in the PlayStation 2, like all the GTAs and that sort of stuff. Like I would, and
it all becomes speedrunners.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. No.
Oh my god. Imagine.
I mean, like I know we're sick, but like speedrunners are fucking.
That's like next level.
It is. Yeah.
Come on, we'd all be.
But it's actually the same level over and over and over again.
Yeah, we'd all be doing the entirety of all the Souls like without getting hit, speedrunning. If you got it, we'd start from the beginning.
Yeah. I'd probably do more of the play a little bit of each game and see what I like, and then like complete a couple. But I wouldn't be a completionist if I didn't have the achievements. I would definitely
not have a hole in my wall from all the games that I bought, like I have now, because if I didn't have achievements, I would just focus on one game, and then move on to the next, and not buy like, oh, these 10 are on sale, let me buy them right now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Probably just buy like the Resident Evil's, Hogwarts Legacy, and that would be my entire budget for the entire year, and not touch any more games.
Well, technically one of those was a Christmas present, so like you can get away with that.
I mean, yeah, but I would still buy it for me.
Yeah, I know. Sure. I know.
If achievements weren't.
All right. Thank you for the question, Shane. That was a fantastic one as always. Let's get into the news. We'll start with Epi. I don't know how do you EpiXR. The guys who make
Mistake.
The
Mistake guys who make, is a good.
Yeah, the guys who make these fucking airy games.
Okay.
So. Airy, if you don't know what the airy games are, we talked about shovelware trash before this. They basically are games where you fly around as a bird and collect things, and they pretend to have some sort of minor story, and you just fly through like pre-rendered environments. There's nothing in them, and it's
listening to the same song.
Yeah,
it is 10 games now. It's the same song over and over again.
Wait, you don't want to listen to the same song over and over again?
Ugh.
I prefer. I don't want to listen to like some fucking dubstep DJ that isn't probably not even getting paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair.
They're trash, to be honest. So basically, they've started adding in recently in the last few games. They've added in cheat codes that allow you to basically skip to whatever level you want and get the achievements for them and finish the game in minutes. Some people are upset about this. Most people are like, yeah, I don't want to spend any more time than I need to with these fucking games. This is great. Apparently, they've been told to remove them by Xbox, which is interesting. So some updates have rolled out to Airy Vikings and Paper Flight Super Speed Dash. And apparently, people, when they found out they saw these updates, the codes no longer work. So people reached out, and it was confirmed to True Achievements that the developer publisher received a complaint from Xbox about the cheats and were told to remove them from the game. And also means that basically they're not going to be available in any future games either.
Oof, I already completed those. I'm safe.
Yes. Right. Yeah, I don't... Using in-game cheat codes to unlock achievements apparently is kind of like a bit of an interesting area for like achievements. I think like the official policy is that you're not supposed to have like cheat codes that unlock achievements directly or like that kind of stuff. But I think that it's one of those, like, most of the time I don't think Xbox cares that much. I think combined with the fact that these are like trash games, and also with the new Abs Animal game, which is essentially just looking at a cat for 20 minutes, where apparently Microsoft.
Yeah, the only buttons are like rotate the camera and zoom in.
Yep.
And exit.
And it's literally just watch the cat.
It's a screensaver. You get an achievement for screensavers. But apparently Microsoft are also looking into that. So I'm wondering if we might see maybe a little bit of a change in the level of trash game that we still get. I don't know. Maybe not. But
I mean, it's probably like a one-case scenario where developers will be like, all right, so I guess we need to have a jump button somewhere you can make the cat jump. Yeah. Jump 500 times. That's an achievement. That's a game. And yeah, no more skip the level bullshit that Airy and the other ones were known for.
Yeah. But I think like Chili Dog Interactive have always had cheat codes in their games, right? And they usually like invincibility modes or super power-ups.
Yeah, but they still make you complete the game. It's not like you can skip the level.
Exactly. So
yeah, just like invincibility, infinite ammo.
Yeah, so I'm wondering where's the line, I guess.
I think it's too late for them to actually do any major changes. I feel like this should have been discussed, or at least they should have intervened right at the beginning of the shovelware era, I guess you could call it.
Probably talked through.
Now being like, yo guys, this is not cool. It's
a bit late.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of like because if they are getting involved now with achievements and the way that they are, will they do anything about the 1000G updates?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the question, right? Is like how involved are they going to get? I mean, Zidlon also got in trouble for changing the requirements for their achievements, making them easier as well.
Yeah. I mean, what's the difference between watching a cat for 17 minutes or loading up a Castle No Escape and putting in a cheat to go to level 30 and having all those achievements pop?
Yeah. I don't... It definitely does feel like a situation of like closing the gate after the horse is bolted, right? Like they're way behind the curve on this one. I don't know. I mean, there's always rumors that they're working on a new achievement system, right, or something along those lines. Maybe there's some consideration there.
Maybe Five were just trying to warn us with the earlier question.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe he's got the inside scoop. But yeah, I definitely
sources, man.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't play any of this shit if I didn't have to. We'll see how April looks, because that tends to be when I play my trash. But yeah, but anyway, not really much there. Just kind of pointing out there's some interesting achievement, movers and shakers, because I know there's a lot of controversial opinions on how we feel about Zidlon and EpiXR and kind of those kinds of games and where they fit in our hobby. This one is kind of an interesting one. So I sort of caught this. It's kind of maybe more of a larger discussion around like Japanese gaming. But Skill Up, a wonderful reviewer, YouTube personality, did a review with Yoshi P, who's the producer on Final Fantasy 14 and 16. And in part of the interview, he was talking about sort of JRPGs. And it kind of came out that apparently JRPGs, like the term JRPG was kind of seen, at least in Japan, as kind of like quite sort of discriminatory back in the day. As kind of like a pigeonholing kind of thing. And I kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts on if that's kind of changed. I know, like, I have a long history with JRPGs. I know Dio, you have quite a big history with them, and I know Charlotte, you played a few of them. So kind of wanted to get a little bit of perspective on that. If you haven't seen the video, go check it out. It was a really good one. I'll probably link it in the podcast channel after the show. Also, just like it came out of a preview event for Final Fantasy 16, which looks fucking incredible. Not coming to Xbox, but we'll see. Yeah, Charlotte, I don't know, Charlotte, when someone says JRPG, like what sort of springs to mind as kind of like those hallmark things?
Well, like traditionally, like web games. That's it, right? Like that's what it would make me think of, like Japanese inspired games. So I kind of understand it, but also I can get it from both sides. I think it's always just been like an unofficial classification, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
to a point.
I think it's very much of a question of culture, because I'm sure Asian gamers traditionally, I'm sure they don't call it JRPGs. I'm probably
because they're just
probably
RPGs.
Just call
it it's Westerners that would call it JRPGs.
Yeah, and I assume that Western RPGs are like probably like America or WRPGs, or I don't know.
And then you have like the old school stuff of like CRPGs, which is like classic PC RPGs, like the original Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I think it's just a question of them being from a different culture, and JRPGs on themselves have only become popular in the Western market somewhat recently. So I'm sure he is used to the idea of JRPGs being a taboo in the Western audience, or not necessarily taboo. So I'm sure it's more like a thing of him being used to JRPGs equaling failure in the Western market, and him probably not wanting his games to be associated with that because he still thinks that way.
Yeah, and I guess like he was sort of specifically talking about like in the past, right? Like obviously that's kind of changed, like as you said, as more people have kind of gotten a wider appreciation for Japanese culture, we'll say, in terms of like meaning it, right? Like
I would say, like, I can think of a recent RPG that came from Asia that hasn't been successful.
Yeah.
Like, tell me one JRPG that hasn't gotten a score higher than a 7.
I guess like if we talk about like major releases, right? Because like Xenoblade, like if you think about like Xenoblade Chronicles, like that did super well. Persona, obviously.
Yakuza, Final Fantasy, obviously. Ni no Kuni is getting attraction again.
Yeah, especially now that's on Xbox. And...
I don't even know if I could consider Guilty Gear JRPG.
No, it's fighting game. It's well, I guess like there's a difference between like a Japanese style game, right, or a Japanese developed game. And something that's like JRPG. The kind of connotation is kind of like Final Fantasy was the go-to. It's like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and then
there was that PlayStation exclusive that was basically Final Fantasy. Legend of Dragoon, was it?
PlayStation 1. Yeah. Well, because like that was kind of the era where that started, because you started getting imports and started getting localizations. But I really feel like the PlayStation 2 had that big Japanese import. Like that's when Level 5 brought out all their stuff. And then it kind of died down a little bit in the 360 and PS3 era, a little bit, at least in the West. Because
we had Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, and the occasional Final Fantasy, but
great games. But yeah, it was like that. That was when Western development really took off in that space. That's when you had your Skyrims, and that kind of like that kind of RPG really exploded out, and your Fallouts. And now it's swung back a little bit, where you're starting to get like Persona 5. Obviously, was huge. You got the new Shin Megami Tensei. Xenoblade, like I mentioned. Final Fantasy 16 looks really good. Obviously, Final Fantasy 14 is huge. I don't know. I mean, I understand kind of what he's saying, right? Is that like if you were, 15 years ago or whatever, you wouldn't remember this year. it was like
rude.
What?
I was 8.
Yeah, right.
All right, I remember.
It was kind of like, if you said something was a JRPG, a lot of people would be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, not my thing."
Mm-hmm.
Like it would.
I would giggle because I would be playing Persona 4 and Persona 3.
Yeah, right. But like, I mean, I've always enjoyed that kind of stuff. Like Legend of Legaia was like a PlayStation 1 game that super got me into that kind of genre of games that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And like I kind of see where he's coming from, because it's like, like you don't want to be written off for being like put in a box of like it was like during the 360 era when someone said, "Oh yeah, it's a first person it's a military first person shooter," and everyone's like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, another one of those." And it's like, yeah, most of them were like not great, but you got like a lot of like interesting kind of games, things like Spec Ops: The Line, right, which on the face of it looked like a standard kind of modern military shooter third person Gears of War clone, but turned out to have like
Fear, which technically was.
Yeah, again, like, technically a military first-person shooter, but they were like ghosts and shit. And you're like, okay, actually, there's some good stuff here.
Yeah.
So I can understand when it's like, oh yeah, you're working on like it's like, oh, it's like Final Fantasy, but, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, okay, like another one of those, or someone just kind of rolls their eyes and doesn't give it time of day. I can understand why that can be kind of, and like you got like a Western audience talking about these games like they're all basically the same thing. When yeah, sure, they definitely have similarities.
I mean, having only recently got into the Final Fantasies, like 2 years ago, I had a conversation with kids, and where it was like, so basically all of them start with you walking around, then you get a vehicle, and at the end you get a ship.
Yep.
I mean, fundamentally, they definitely have thematic things, and you'll probably find a chocobo, and there'll probably be something about crystals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're there, and waifus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But and like that's there are tropes within any genre of game, right? So I don't know. I just think it's interesting to kind of see that, like.
I also wonder if he knows how big of an impact Final Fantasy itself had on the Western culture. Because I would say that Final Fantasy was the forerunner of making JRPGs popular in the West.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Like 7 in particular.
Yeah, I wonder if he knows the kind of impact that's.
I mean, he must do, right, in terms of like looking at like what Final Fantasy 14 has done in terms of in the MMO space, and in that interview, and I'll like I said, I'll link it. You should check it out. He sort of talks about how Final Fantasy as kind of like an institution is kind of seemed a bit old fashioned, and that's why he's changing up so much for Final Fantasy 16 rather. And they're like, he wants to change it back to like a must-buy, like tentpole kind of game. So he's obviously aware of like where the series was and where it's become right now with like 15. And like I am very excited to kind of see what happens with 16, because it looks really, really good. They've got the guy who did the combat for Devil May Cry as doing the sort of it's more of like a character action game.
Yeah, but I would even say Final Fantasy, I don't know one person that was a gamer back when Final Fantasy 15. All right, I should rephrase. That is not an achievement hunter. My friends outside of achievement hunting, I don't know one of them that has not played Final Fantasy 15 back when the game came out.
For sure, it was like it definitely sold well, right? But it was also critically panned in terms of like, and it was a mess.
Well, that was also because it was unfinished, right? Yeah. They released like an update that changed like the last third of the game completely.
Yeah.
And sure, you can say that the last Final Fantasy was bad, but the Strangers of Paradise or whatever it was called, I wouldn't call it an official Final Fantasy, right? It's more like shovelware to keep people entertained.
It was more of a spin-off, right? But I think they've taken some cues from that game in terms of like the sort of more action-y kind of character action stuff, as opposed to the sort of hybrid ATB system that was in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, there's not really much else to say. I just thought it was an interesting point that, like, we've used the term JRPG pretty broadly for a long time, and like there's kind of Japanese culture may see it slightly differently, considering that the people who make them. Anyway, last story. I won't harp on it too long. Just think it's an interesting update to the ongoing Microsoft Activision merger. PlayStation basically have been fighting back, talking about how it'll ruin the games industry, talking about how exclusivity is going to break things. Microsoft has basically got approval from the FTC to look at PlayStation's exclusivity records back to 2019, which basically came about because Sony's been complaining about this kind of exclusivity stuff. Microsoft is like, pot to kettle, motherfucker.
Yeah, they drew the no you card in
Pretty much, yeah, exactly. And so this basically just means that Microsoft is going to get the ability to look at basically any exclusivity deal that they've made with developers and publishers, how much those were made for, and what the terms of those agreements were. Also, along with employee KPIs and reviews, performance reviews, except for the leadership and the CEO, which is the ones they probably actually want to see, but there is that. And also getting to see sort of any exclusivity deals or any kind of deals they've made with lawmakers or lobbyists or anything along those lines, and how much money that those entailed to kind of influence politics, mostly from a business perspective, I assume. So again, we don't know much about it. I'm sure like this will be similar to that the Apple versus Epic thing, where this kind of ongoing court case will reveal interesting details. A lot of it's going to be redacted for privacy reasons, I'm sure. But I get the feeling we're probably going to hear some very interesting stuff around what Microsoft finds in terms of...
Basically, we'll see, especially speaking about Final Fantasy, how Microsoft is fucked by not having, how much money it costs for Final Fantasy to disappear from Xbox.
Yep, exactly right.
That would be a big one.
That's one of the big question marks. Is like, oh, okay, yeah, we got like Crisis Core, but like a bunch of Final Fantasy games are just skipping. Well, a bunch of Square games, I should say, not even just Final Fantasy. A bunch of Square Enix games are skipping Microsoft consoles for some reason, and it doesn't seem to be because it's too hard to develop, or it definitely seems like some money changed hands there. It's also part of why there's been so many rumors about Square getting acquired by Sony, because they work so closely together. So yeah, I'm hoping that we get to see some of that, because like I'd love to know why we don't get to play Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy 7 remake or Octopath Traveler 2. Like there are definitely some gaps in that sort of JRPG quadrant that Microsoft is missing out on.
Or even Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Which that's the reason I'm gonna buy PS5.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and then like Jake said, it's 100% them paying for the exclusions. 100%. Yeah, of course they are. Like they're not doing this out of the kindness of their own heart, right? Square,
especially with Konami or Square, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like both of them are getting they're getting a fat stack for that.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just curious to see what are those deals like? How much does it cost to keep something off Xbox, and for how long?
I mean, we saw how much money Microsoft paid Square to have Rise of the Tomb Raider exclusive for...
True, for like a year or whatever it was, yeah.
And Tomb Raider, while popular, it's not a console seller. I would say Final Fantasy sells consoles.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider, not so much. So I wonder if it's... the difference in the pay gap it's going to be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And especially because Square... value their Japanese development so much more than they did their Western development, that they're basically sold.
And they sold it all, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll probably take a while before we see anything out of this. But I guess Sony started the week in the fuck around quadrant, and they've ended up in the find out quadrant. So good luck for them.
Twitter is being minor salt lately because of this, and I'm loving it.
It's great. It is great. You could definitely pull up a chair, grab popcorn, check it out. All right, Game Pass updates. I will quickly flick through this. So Games with Gold got announced. There are 3 games, which I think was one of the predictions we had potentially coming back, which is cool. So it's good to see that they're not kind of just going back to 2. We'll see if this is kind of a trend. Maybe they go up to 4, maybe they stick with 3. Who knows? But we have a Troubadour, March 1st to 31st. Southern Strike 4 European Battlefields Edition, March 1st to 31st. And then on the 16th to the 15th, we have Lamentium. I don't know anything about any of those games, so I might have a look at them.
I do have something that I was reading before we started that I would like to see Neo's opinion, but
yeah, sure.
We all read possibly the news that Dead by Daylight is getting a movie adaptation by Blumhouse, right?
Yes, I did see that.
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's not the thing. I was also reading just now that they've confirmed that they're going to reboot the Resident Evil movie franchise yet again by doing Resident Evil 4, the movie.
God.
They just can't let it go.
If anyone remembers us doing LCA, then like we've been watching all of these movies.
It's the 4th reboot technically because they did the original movies, then they rebooted with the new one. They technically kind of rebooted with the Netflix show.
Yeah.
And that's not only kind of the animated bullshit they've done as well.
The thing is, the animated movies are canon to the games.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Look, I love seeing Leon John Wick style.
I mean, I get it with the popularity of the remakes that they've done, and with 4 coming out, they want to capitalize, right? But
yeah, I mean, as long as they get new cast.
Yeah.
Don't you want to see Leon screaming about bingo in the big screen?
I mean, actually,
that would
to be fair, if you were going to do any game, 4 is probably the best one for a movie in terms of like campiness.
Which they've kept the campiness in the new one. I've seen gameplay and
cool, good, okay, that makes me happy.
I might actually play it. Who knows? We also got announced that we got a bunch of stuff leaving Game Pass.
Yeah.
Which we were all waiting with bated breath. And there's a lot. It's a big list. So we've got Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. We've got Undertale, Goat Simulator, Kentucky Route Zero, Paradise Killer, Zero Escape, the Nonary Games, Young Souls, and F1 2020.
The easiest one would be Young Souls.
Young Souls is pretty quick.
I would say Undertale is the quickest.
Undertale's also very quick.
Yeah, true. It is once you've got through it. You don't actually have to finish the story. So
Kentucky Route Zero is relatively quick, although boring. Paradise Killer is not super long.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is a little bit longer than that. And then Nonary Games is probably the longest one on that list.
If you play it.
If you play it properly in terms of like the
and if you skip everything, maybe 8 hours, 10. Some of the puzzle, there's a
but you'll lose respect from Neo.
You'll lose a huge amount of respect from me because the thing is, like, if I was like, again, like, I think that if you're an achievement hunter and you just kind of want to quickly get stuff done, there's a bunch of stuff on here you could do. Like Young Souls is a nice easy one. Kentucky Route Zero, Goat Simulator is easy. Undertale's quick. I mean, Undertale you should play anyway.
It's very similar to what's the other one
that also came?
Yeah, exactly. Somnium Files, where the story is like 20-25 hours, and it's definitely a good story to go through. But if you just keep everything, it's 5-8 hours, especially since the Nonary games.
Yeah.
Some of the puzzles the code are the same no matter what playthrough, so you don't even need to solve it properly. You can just put in the code or whatever it is and just skip through the cutscenes.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who's watched or listened to the show in the past knows that I'm a huge fan of Spike Chunsoft's releases, Danganronpa, the AI series, and Zero Escape. All 3 of those games I fucking absolutely love, and I would highly recommend it. If you have the time, please try and play through those games. I have been harping on it for a long time because I knew this day was not far away. I don't think anyone fucking listened to me, but at least I got people to play AI, so that's something. So yes, definitely. Like I would say, the 2 that I really want people to play are Paradise Killer and Zero Escape. Those are probably the 2 most interesting ones.
The 2 that I haven't played in the list.
Everything else on there is kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, like story-wise, is good. And Undertale is obviously a classic in terms of like how people love it. The other stuff,
Guardians as the music and I guess the story, because gameplay is very bare bones.
Yeah, it's pretty boring. Yeah, but you can read through it.
it's very Final Fantasy 15, where you just click one button to do everything, and then your teammates will do most of the work for you.
Yeah.
Agreed. But yeah, that's what's coming. That's all that's kind of leaving over the next few weeks. So you got like 10 days. So jump on it real quick because there's a lot to get through there. Thankfully, I've done all of the stuff in there that I care about. So I actually need to find something new to play.
You know, I'm Mr. Living Game Pass, so I'm gonna do Paradise Killer and the Non-Harry games.
There's a reason we called it Velicking.
Yeah. Yep. So I've done everything else, either because it was book club in AHA or because of the influx of hype in the case of Undertale.
Yeah.
And I don't really care about F1. Sorry, F1 enjoyers. So just doing the other two that I'm missing, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into what we've been playing then. Charlotte, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll be pretty quick either way. So I've still been doing the Valentine Relay with Dio, so we've been working through that. So we have a few more games that we've got through, and just using like backlog games, so that's quite handy. But
Not anymore.
No, we're now on to new games. And I've been Velicking Young Souls, so I'm close to the end. I'm now just doing the grindy bits to get all of the chests and to finish up the story. So I think I'll have it done today. I'm like working on it this afternoon. And I have still been playing Hogwarts Legacy, so in and out of that, but less this week than I have been, because I've been, again, trying to get Young Souls done, and I'm also trying to finish up stuff for work because I'm changing jobs in 2 weeks. So it's going to be a busy couple of weeks. I'm hoping that once I get into the new job, I'll have more time to game and do more stuff. But I don't think I'll have time to do anything other than Young Souls, which is the only game that I have started out of those games leaving. So that's where I'm at.
Young Souls is an interesting one because
yeah,
the story starts boring, and it's a very coming of age story about two delinquents.
Yeah, brother and sister.
My only problem is I'm not gonna say what happened at the end, because that's one of there's one of my main issues where it feels like the entire plot is useless because of something that happens close to the end.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And the second thing is I thought it was interesting that they brought up the fact that like the two main characters were like battling with themselves with the fact that they were killing shit and they were actually taking lives, but then it got destroyed by it. One of them would make a joke and that plot would completely be left. And I don't know, I enjoyed the fact that they brought that part on, but I feel like if you're not going to develop, don't even bring it up.
Yeah, if you're not going to use that story.
It was very much of a, we just killed her. Ah, shit, she was in our way, whatever.
Yeah. Which makes sense. I just have issues with how glitchy it tends to be.
Yeah, it's kind of... the game feels a little unfinished, both from I talked about it when I played it a few weeks back, right? It feels a little unfinished in terms of the combat and kind of the game itself, and also like the number of areas and the story. It all kind of feels like they were like, we got like a half a game and then we had to like end it.
I also wish that it had online multiplayer, because it should be 2-player online. Like they've got this function where it can be 2-player, and you can't use it unless you're couch co-op, right? Like I don't really like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's weird that you don't have it.
I think it's
weird.
And also the typical, indie game where like you can make a choice of 3 dialogues, but all of them mean the same thing.
Yeah,
so
it all ends up on the same thing. It's like it's not going to influence anything by choosing different dialogue.
Do you want to say give up and die, or I'm gonna fucking kill you?
Yeah.
And they reply with, I stand with the stone.
It's kind of, it just makes it a bit boring, right? Like, I don't know. I don't find it that interesting.
I'm with you. Anything else?
That's pretty much it. That's all I've really been playing. Like, yeah, I think that's what makes it boring for me in Young Souls. Like, I actually really enjoy the fighting part. Like, that I'm really liking. But the story, I'm just like, I don't really care. I'm skipping it all. I just, like, skip, because I'm not engaging in the story at all with Young Souls. I basically know what's going on without actually having to know what the story is.
Goblins, bad mojojo.
Yeah. Have to save Professor, done. Like, that's the whole entire plot of the story, right? Like, goblins are bad, some are okay, save the Professor. Collect some shit along the way, done.
Yeah, that's roughly correct, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not invested in the story at all. That's just how I am with this game at the moment.
Also, Professor Dad, but I don't want to call him a dad, but let's call him Dad.
Professor Dad. He's a daddy.
I don't know if I'm about that, but sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, what have you been playing, Dio?
All right, let me pull up the list. So, I guess we can say it this week. Deathloop, or as I like to say it, Dishonored 3.0, because it's basically Dishonored.
Wait, it has the same skin?
Yeah, I mean, same developer, wouldn't you? The entire power list is pretty much the mix of Corvo's and Emily's powers from Destiny, Dishonored 2. Even the most OP one, which was Domino, which in this one has another name, which I think is Nexus, where you can just link all the enemies. They even made it even more OP on this one, because before you could link like individually, now you just throw it in public and it links everyone. It's a good game. I'm a Arcane fanboy, as my next game probably will say it. I just didn't like how it was the same, technically 16 areas over and over again. If you really narrow it down, it's 4 areas. The looping system definitely got old after like a third of the game through, because I already knew where the enemies were going to be. I already knew basically halfway through the point it became speedrun the game, because you could just do everything. And I also didn't know if I'm still in the middle about stealth not being such a huge deal in this one, because in the other ones, if you were found out, you're pretty much dead. In this one, you could probably wipe the entire map and still be fine, because none of the enemies really presented a threat. None of the traps. I know it's a weird game. It's a good game, but still falls short compared to the other Arcane games.
Okay, question is, how many times did you die?
Legitimately, I don't think I actually died in the entire game.
No.
I'm pretty sure my last achievement.
After I talked to you about it, you didn't actually like.
I'm pretty sure my last achievement was to die.
Yeah. Because you did the whole the whole loops without dying.
Yeah, because you could just sprint to the end if you were almost dead. So after finishing Deathloop, I decided to spin my randomizer of backlog games, and one of the options was Prey, and I was already in an Arcane kick, so I decided to finish that, and I was only missing the DLC, which is a roguelite story-esque, very quick DLC, which
Crash, right?
and as much shit as I give you for not doing Dishonored and Bioshock, this DLC is really easy. I can also a DLC that I didn't die, especially since you get so many sim points, which is basically the currency that you can just buy if you need to. The delay loops, which would so the DLC is based off as you progress and you get more story points, the simulation would get progressively harder faster, but you can buy those things where you just use them and it will just basically reset the timer to 0.
Oh, right.
So and you need to finish the entire DLC with at least 50,000 of those points, but you get a lot of them. You can probably get 50,000 points in one run. because you get points by escaping, by killing enemies. Literally everything you do, collecting shit gives you sim points. The story of it also kind of ties to the end of the game. I don't know if I can talk about it. It came out in 2016, so I don't know if you really want me to say the end of the OG game.
No, because I think that like that game is so predicated on story in a lot of ways that it's probably.
It ends in the end ends in a confusing way of the OG game. Like basically, you realize that whatever happened in the spaceship went past the spaceship, let's just say that. Right. And the DLC is the DLC you're basically an hacker from another company, and you found a computer from one of the Star Labs or whatever it was called, with info, and your job is to obviously hack it, and it works in a simulation kind of way. And as you progressively complete the objectives, you find out what's really transpired both in the two laboratories, both the one in the main game and the one in the DLC. And the end of it kind of explains what happened in the end of the main story and why is it happening. Okay. It's a good DLC, I think, and I wouldn't expect a roguelite to work so well in the Prey formula, but it actually does, and it's pretty fun.
I'll definitely check that on my list, because it's been one of those ones that I just was like, roguelite. I played it for like 5 minutes. I was like, this is really not my kind. This is not why I wanted to play Prey, but...
Definitely follow the tier walkthrough. It's basically narrows it down everything. Sweet. And the last one was Far Cry Blood Dragon, which it's basically Far Cry 3, but 80s action movie. And I don't think I can say anything else aside from crazy fun. It's still as good as I remember back when I played back in 2016, I think. A lot more glitchy than I remember. A lot of blood dragons despawning and exploding while I'm just walking by them. And a lot of enemies just falling over and, I guess, killing themselves. It seems like whenever I spawned, they were having heart attacks that are just around me.
Amazing.
Also, save the game often, because if the game crashes, all the collectibles that you picked up, you gotta collect them all again.
It's a short game, at least, thankfully.
It is, and you can just sprint, and there's no fall damage, and there is no breath, so you can just swim forever. The story is interesting. The ending is kind of weird, and then they made the Trials sequel to it, and it even made even less sense.
I was really hoping that the rumors of Far Cry Blood Dragon 3 Vietnam War 2 was apparently the working title for this sequel they were going to do for it. I was really hoping they were going to do something with that, but obviously they've kind of just let it die. I played the original 361 back in the day and had a great time with it, so I should actually might pick this up.
I mean, I don't know if you should pick it up or just wait for Far Cry 6 Season Pass to go on sale.
Yeah, actually.
Right, because that one came with that's another can of worms in itself. Speaking about roguelite DLCs, Far Cry 6 only has roguelite DLCs.
Ugh, gross.
Not a fan. Anything else?
All the shovelware to keep the Valentine's relay going, but other than that, nothing really major, I guess. Also Young Souls, but I already said my piece about it, so yeah, nothing really other than those three.
What's your opinion on the Valentine's relay?
I hate it. I hate installing games, getting one achievement and being like, this is a good game. Anyways.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah,
it was at least good for our backlog though. At least for getting popping achievements in some of them. And now I'm like, oh, now I want to go back to that game because I realized that actually that's
I wish I didn't have a backlog. I'm gonna quit achievement hunting. I'm gonna fucking become a professional singer or some shit like that.
Amazing. We'll get you to do Song of the Week. I'll quickly talk about what I've been playing. So I finished up Octopath Traveler right before it left Game Pass, about like a day beforehand. It was a rough completion. 115 hours in, I think, took me roughly. Oh, actually, no, that's not true, because I managed to beat the final boss at 95 hours, so I had to sit around for 5 hours to get a 100-hour achievement, and then I had the speed run, which I did in about 5 hours. So it was about actual 100 hours of playing, roughly. My thoughts from last week are still the same. I think their game is too disjointed, and kind of like doesn't really have a lot of good hooks. The combat does improve as you go through the game, but yeah, I think the game has some serious pacing issues. I also did Far Changing Tides, both versions of it. I like the game; it was quite good. It's a relatively standard, like sort of management game where you're kind of just like running around, making sure that your ship continues to travel in the right direction. Kind of wish it didn't have a speedrun achievement. I managed to get the speed run for both of them on my first try, which is fine. But I was fucking booking it, and that was the thing, is that like I really didn't feel like I got a chance to like slow down and just kind of just not feel like I'm, fucking spinning 10 different plates of like, okay, well,
I wish a shark would bite the ship in the beginning, and that's how the game ended. Because holy fuck, that game was so boring.
I liked it. It was fun. I haven't played the other one.
I'm very much like Shin. The game was fun in the first 20 minutes, and then I was like, maybe Shovel Like a Shovelware isn't all that bad. Maybe some games should become.
The game was like 3 hours long. It was fine.
It wasn't a long completion. Like, it was a pretty quick one.
I kind of wish I didn't have to do it twice, because there's nothing really to be gained from replaying it. But it's a very I like the music, I like the art style, I like the aesthetic is great. I like the kind of interesting, again, there's no dialogue or anything. It's all kind of, you have to learn the sort of story from context clues. And it kind of makes me want to go back and play the first one. So I'll probably check that out at some stage. I also did Metal Hellsinger, the stack. It's fine. That's not fair. It's a great game. It does what it does really, really well. It's just more of the same, just replaying it. Getting towards the end of Hogwarts Legacy. Spend a bunch of time just going around doing all the open world bullshit. There's so much of it. It suffers from open world bloat in a way that I was really hoping they were going to avoid. But no, there are still 95 Merlin challenges. There are still a shitload of astronomy tables, a shitload of landing pads and balloons and camps to attack and things like. There's so many collectibles, unfortunately, that it's just like.
The good thing, I guess, for you, not from me and Charles, since we are massive Harry Potter nerds, is that they said they have no DLC confirmed. Stuff may change down the line, especially how successful the game is. There's already been rumors about a sequel.
A sequel, I think, makes perfect sense. They've built the engine. They have the fucking the castle.
Well,
they could literally go wherever they want with it.
The sequel won't be in Hogwarts. It's going to be the American.
More interesting.
Cool.
It's going. It's also just rumors, right? But the school that was introducing the Fantastic Creatures, the Fantastic Beasts movies with the American school and the other 4 houses that are basically Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw. Let's just change the names or whatever.
They've obviously stumbled onto a winning formula. I think overall, again, I'm towards the end of the story. I haven't actually finished it yet. I'm just kind of doing cleanup. But I think this is a solid 8 out of 10 game. In terms of just from an overall perspective, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I understand that for some people and it's huge and I can understand the appeal, right? And I'm still blown away by how it looks and how they've kind of set everything up, and the amount of stuff that is in this game is really, really impressive. Combat, I think, is okay. I think it's decent. the game reminds me a lot of The Witcher, or The Witcher 3 in particular. In terms of like there's like it's quite a like you dodge a lot, there's blocking, you kind of like prioritizing spells and that kind of stuff with attacks, but you end up kind of just leaning on the same kind of things over and over again. Tends to be things like, well, I've got like one color, this spell, and this spell, and I've got this one other thing that I use sometimes. I just kind of cycle between the cooldowns and just keep rolling around and blocking occasionally. Yeah, I was hoping that, like, I was wishing there was maybe just a little bit more depth to it, because like there are combos that are like, there's a couple of combos in terms of like what you can do in terms of like levitating someone, hitting them a few times, pulling them, and then hitting them a few more. But I mean, it's a game about like magic with a wand, right? You don't expect you to pull out a fucking sword or anything kind of like in terms of like having different combat styles. I think might be a bit more interesting.
It's interesting because they basically in the first like 2 hours of the game, they confirmed something that hasn't been really officially said in the Harry Potter universe, where there is magic without wands.
Wandless magic.
They never really fully confirmed that. Neither in the movies, in the books, they talk about it.
I mean, house elves have wandless magic.
So right? Yeah, and the thing is, so do goblins essentially. Like they have small amounts of magic, and that's the whole point, right? And then wizards do, because wizard children have wandless magic.
Yeah, Harry did magic before he had a wand. Yeah.
So the whole point of like having the wand is the wand helps to focus it, right? But they don't exactly go into that or talk about it. It's that kind of lore that's unspoken.
And they just fully outset it. There's a school that teaches with magic, wandless magic.
Yeah, there's a whole school in Africa that teaches it, and it's like
they basically said, that school is bigger than Hogwarts.
Yeah, which is cool. I liked that.
Yeah, like I think that the stuff they've done with like the story and the characters, I think is all pretty good. I mean, some of the side stuff is kind of like relatively broad strokes. Like you can kind of see things happening from a mile away. There's not a huge amount of surprises in the game.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a solid, well-made title that like having a solid, well-made AAA title come out in this day and age without a shitload of microtransactions, without a bunch of other bullshit in there.
I'm glad that's
really, really impressive.
And I hope they keep microtransactions out of it, because it shouldn't have them.
Yeah. And it's also an interesting, because having already an established universe made stuff easy for them, which is full 100% true. But it's also the thing where like they could have leaned so much more in the lore, and they tried doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about the DLC, right? They could very easily release like a 20 to 15 euro DLC about like the Dry-User tournament. They could be like, oh yeah, it's time for a Dry-User tournament.
Quidditch,
or Quidditch, yeah. And they are holding themselves back, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
I mean, this game was in development for a long time. I remember we saw rumors about it years ago.
And it was delayed, so...
Yeah. So they could very easily put like a 10-hour DLC about it, and people would be happy. Would it be good? Probably not, maybe. And they're not doing, which shows, I think, a lot of restraint by them, which is good.
Yeah. I think it's like, in terms of like, it's mechanically, it's a little bit basic for what I was hoping for. I was hoping for maybe a bit more interesting kind of stuff in terms of like the story and the combat. But I think as like the world and the design of the game is really, really good. Does have a bit of that bloat. And like a little bit too much of just like that, like the southern coast is basically like really not used for anything in the entire game. It's basically just there to fill space and for you to do shit.
Especially when the map is that big.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it didn't like I would have been happier if they had made the current map a bit more dense in terms of like side quests and interesting stuff, and maybe made the castle a few more things in the castle. But I think that like, I'm nitpicking at this point. I think it's a solid like 8.5 game. It's really, really good.
I do wonder what they did cut out of the game. Because we know the Quidditch
and the swamp.
The swamp.
The swamp and the Quidditch.
If combat was different, if they made it simpler.
I mean, this is a game that definitely appeals to a wide range of audiences, right? They obviously don't want to overcook it. Like The Witcher, obviously, like The Witcher 3 obviously was huge in a wide audience as well. But this is a whole different level in terms of that sort of. Like Allison is playing the hell out of it, and she absolutely loves it, and it's just like, and so it's like, and there aren't many games that do that for her. So, Yeah, like I think they've struck gold here, which is
it's a game that knows the target that they want to appeal, and they do it successfully.
100%, 100%. With like just enough nods towards like other stuff to keep people who are super fans excited and interested.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was playing that I wrote the song about this week was Shadow Warrior 3 Definitive Edition just got added to Game Pass. This is a fun game. It is a 6 to 8 hour linear first-person shooter. High mobility, quite a few different weapons and abilities. The way I would describe it is that it is Titanfall 2 mixed with Doom with a shitload of dick jokes.
That sounds about right. That sounds like Shadow Warrior 1.
Yeah, right. Like it is very true to its its roots. And it's fuck. The guy's name is Lo Wang. Like the jokes,
I mean, if you like killing an enemy and hearing very bad, poorly Asian accent screaming, you want some Wang every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's a game for you.
Yeah.
Play Shadow Warrior 1, skip 2, and play 3. That's
yeah. So
probably over the Shadow Warrior 1's completion.
Oh, yeah, 1 is rough. But yeah, like again, you can play the whole game on easy. There are a decent variety of weapons. I was hoping for maybe a little bit more. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 weapons, I think. Plus your sword. I was hoping for maybe closer to maybe 10. Like you kind of get the last weapon a little bit like halfway through the game, and then it kind of doesn't really add a lot to it. They do throw some interesting enemies at you. They have the like glory kill kind of thing that you have from Doom when you weaken an enemy, you fucking just like rip them apart. But the cool thing is that as you rip enemies apart, you get like a special weapon from every type of enemy. It's like your basic enemies will give you double health. One of the ice enemies, you get like an ice grenade that you can throw at enemies, or you get like machine guns, or you get a thing that attacks whatever you're looking at. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like you build up a bar, and so like the larger enemies require more bar to like do the like finisher on them, but you can use those finishers to wipe out more enemies. And it's basically just like traversal area, collectibles, and then combat arenas, and it's like very, very straightforward. Story is relatively paper thin. It's got like it's all just jokes. It's just excuses for jokes. You fight a giant enemy.
What happened to the characters from fucking Shadow Warrior 1? They completely ignored the plot from Shadow Warrior 1 and 2, and I was actually quite invested. Especially with the ghost demon thing that's on you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's super irreverent. The one-liners are all bad. Every single one of them. There's a lot of pop culture shit in there. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. It is like a bite-sized, it's a great weekend game, perfect Game Pass game. They give you a bunch of challenges to do, and there's a bunch of collectibles to get. So if you pull up a collectible guide, you just keep an eye on the challenges and some of the achievements, and just make sure you're kind of getting through those as you do the fights. Has a chapter select, has a new game plus, has like some survival modes. You don't really have to do any of that. And it's just there's just like count how many Wang jokes they do. It's great.
I mean, to be fair, when you say Shadow Warrior, most people already know that it's first-person shooter, dick jokes all around, and that's it.
Pretty much, yeah. But I was surprised by it's got like a grappling hook and wall running, and I was like, this is actually like it plays very similar to Titanfall 2. I wish the guns had a bit more impact, but it's fine, whatever. It's like a double game.
Can we officially say that the grappling hook is for 2022 what the bow was for 2016, where every game had a fucking bow, and now 100%. Every game has a grappling
they even
hook.
reference the fact that every game has a grappling hook now, so we know that it's gone full circle.
Wait, there's a grappling hook in Young Souls too, isn't there?
Yeah,
you just don't use it. It's just a weapon, right?
Yeah, you can pull
it. It's one of the accessories, or
yeah.
They added one in Doom Eternal, one in Halo Infinite.
Yeah. And then the last thing I've been playing is Pentiment. So the walkthrough on TA finally got released. So as much as I love Welsh Hunter, Pentiment is not the kind of game I want to be having him in my ear the entire time. I actually want to sit there and enjoy the story and kind of the mystery and intrigue. TA walkthrough is good. I'm in the second act. There's 3 acts. If you don't know what this game is, basically you are an artist working in the 16th century, I believe, late 1500s. Working in a scriptorium, you're basically doing some artwork, basically creating a masterpiece for them to basically become a master artist. You're a journeyman. You're working in a sort of small town in Germany, and as you go about your day, basically, like there's a baron who comes to visit because he's commissioned a piece, and he's murdered. And everyone's like, "Okay, shit, okay, fuck, what do we do?" And one of your friends, one of the brothers, is accused of it, and he clearly didn't do it. Like, the guy's like an old dude. There's no way he did it. So basically, it falls to you to kind of basically go and make friends with people or not, investigate, and try and basically, as quickly as you can, with as much detective rigor as you could do back in those days, try and figure out who the murderer was and try and point the finger at someone else. And that's like, and then basically each act is like you returning to this, as far as I'm aware, because again, I'm only in the second act, is you returning to the town years later to see the knock-on effects of whatever happened with that. So I'm in the second act. It's 7 years past the first part. And some more bad stuff has happened. And you're kind of trying to unravel the mystery of like what's going on. It is like, it's a narrative game. Like, a lot of reading. There's a lot of historical stuff. If you have any interest in like that sort of period of history, like the sort of Martin Luther, 99 problems, but the church is definitely one of them. Like, it's really, really interesting. I'm curious to see where it goes. I've heard that the third act is super interesting and like really like kind of changes things. But it's like, it is also like a fun, like social deduction detective game where you kind of go around and ask people questions and interrogate them and try and, learn gossip and convince people to help you out with things and find clues. But yeah, like, I think it's great. It definitely needs a walkthrough because there's a lot of variety. Like, you get to choose a lot of specializations and there's a lot of achievements for doing a lot of different things. So check out the TA walkthrough. Game's not super long. And the TA walkthrough also takes you through a lot of stuff that's like not necessarily like the most optimal path, but still gives you an experience of talking to a lot of people and learning a lot about the world and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a nice middle point.
Although if you're from AHA, don't play it this month, because sneak peek, that might be one of the book club games for voting in April.
Cool.
So there you go. That'd be a good one.
That might get me to actually play it.
Yeah, I think maybe like it might be some good fodder for a spoiler cast once we get some people playing it, because it is a very story related game, and I know a lot of people kind of didn't pay it too much attention because of the way it looks. Anyway, that is me for this week. Yeah. Oh, and High on Life got their achievement patch, so I'm working on getting that finished. So if you were waiting for that to get finally done, you can now go through and finish the game. You should be able to get it done pretty easily. All right. Leaderboards. Yeah. Charlotte, who have we got this week?
Okay. Well, in third place we have Mikhail KV with 10,650. In second place we have The Moonzom with 26,930, and then McLovin Legend with 41,385.
All right, now remove the people that watch the cat for 17 minutes.
Yeah. We wouldn't have anyone left on the whole leaderboard.
Well, I mean, I'd still be there. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, me too.
I'd still be there.
Yeah.
I have the game installed for...
Yeah, you're ready to go.
I did, because streak. I'm going for a festival for a week. I need a quick game that I can just, pop the achievement and go back to being drunk.
Isn't the festival not till August?
Look, the game probably is going to get listed next month.
Yeah, fair.
Which, speaking about the list, it's buy Shikondo Soul Eater because that game is going to be delisted at the end of March.
Oh, okay.
It's a quick game, a bullet hell.
Cool. Completions. Charlotte, you want to?
Yep. So in completions this week we have Kyo with Rumbleverse, Hungry Shark and Hungry Shark Evolution, Frost with Bioshock 1 and 2 Remastered, Shadow with Age of Empires 2, The Moonzone with Soma and Dead Space Ignition, L4D Pills here with Alien Isolation and Her Story, David with Shadow Warrior 3, Drunken Monkeys with Thymesia, Just Jake with Undertale, and Dish with Trials Fusion.
Nice work, guys. There's some good completions in there. Shadow did a great job with Age of Empires 2. I know he's been working on that for a long time.
And Trials Fusion is no...
Yeah, Trials Fusion is a big fucking deal.
Yeah, it's Trials, and it's probably the hardest Trials from the 3 or 4 that came out.
Yeah, so good job, everyone there.
You're forgiven for not stop playing Call of Duty Dish. Now go back to it.
He's only got like one left, right?
Yeah. And I keep giving him shit for even whenever he posts the game. I'm like, that's not Call of Duty.
That is insane. I mean, like, I wish I had that kind of dedication to be able to do that.
Don't worry. We're going to start Gears 3 soon, right?
I mean, if we need something to work on. All right, so word challenge. Everyone's favorite competition to hate me. We had a winner. So the clues were that the game was something to do with Australia. It was part of a series ahead of 4 different developers. It was released before 2000. Many of the playable characters were based on animals, and it had a remaster in 2019. And shortly after we posted the show and the clues, our one of our members who are hanging out in the chat here, Angel, managed to guess that the game was in fact the original Crash Team Racing for the PlayStation 1.
Good job.
So good job, Angel. Make sure you get in touch to get your prize. We'll sort you out something depending on where you're based.
If you're European, the prize is going to be me.
Yeah,
you're just going to adopt me.
We'll send you Dio. He'll do whatever you ask him. Anything.
Just say please before.
And normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to say my commiserations to our good friend Mr. Keo live at home. He was so close, and I feel very bad for not giving him it. But he did guess. We
have said that they need to be accurate.
It has to be the exact game, and he unfortunately had guessed the 2019 remaster of Crash Team Racing, not the original. So unfortunately, but you know, Keo has won before, and so next week I'm gonna have to come up with something extra special and extra tricky to try and stump some people. So stay tuned.
The funny thing is, I was thinking of when you said animals, I was thinking of Spyro, not Crash Bandicoot.
Spyro, I mean, like that's the right era, though. Yeah.
Especially when I saw Australia, because in Spyro 3 you play as a kangaroo.
That's true. Yep. And
Sheila, and I was like, it's Spyro. I'm gonna keep quiet, but it's Spyro.
So yeah, check it next week. We'll have a new game for you guys to guess. And best of luck. Check out the Discord, discord.io/Hall of Gamers is the place to find us. We've got the channel there where you can guess. We also have a questions channel if you want to get some stuff on the show. You can also just kind of chat in general. We've got some meme channels and other bits and pieces. Really cool place to hang out. That's where us and our community spend most of our time. We've also got our Patreon, patreon.com/Hall of Gamers if you want to give us some cash so we can keep the lights on. Zoom is $280 a year. So we'd greatly appreciate any support anyone can give. A huge shout out to Lee Howard, Mikhail KV, Chapters, Natolinator, Firehawk, Mad Lefty, G Spaceman, Admiral Awesome, Keo, Happy Moogles, Kung Fu Skills, Hack and Pone, Cavaliero 7, Old Mate Clown, Mark B, and McLovin Legend for supporting us, even more than our regular audience does. So thank you so much, guys.
Oh my god, I just got the reference.
Yeah. And then, as like I said at the top of the show, you can watch us live. Xbox Hall of Gamers is the account. Come say hi, hang out in the chat, ask us questions, shit post, all that kind of stuff. We appreciate all the audience feedback. And if you want to get us in touch with us in other ways, you can email us hallofgamerspodcast@gmail.com or @hallofgamerspod on Twitter. Subscribe to us on your platform of choice. Leave us a review. Tell your friends. Word of mouth, as always, is huge for us. Now, Dio, if people want to find you, what are your details?
All right, so this is my social security number, 110. No, so I'm pretty sure I said this the last time, but I'm pretty sure Twitter is Valak Xbox, TA and Xbox is Valak C, and the rest doesn't really matter because I don't use Instagram unless I'm stalking Charlotte or Facebook unless I'm stalking my mom.
That's fair.
So yeah, and I can't make the other joke, otherwise we're gonna get canceled.
Charlotte.
I don't try and find me. I don't want to talk to anyone.
Cool, that's fair enough.
Okay, fair enough.
For me,
I'm not gonna message you.
Neomaster on everything, True Achievements, Xbox, and Discord. That's going to be episode 70 of the Xbox Hall of Gaming podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you guys next time.